The Legislative Council Economy and Infrastructure Committee has held 3 days of public hearings as part of its examination of the suitability of waste-to-energy infrastructure for Victoria. Looking at environmental impacts, community concerns, costs and alternatives, the inquiry is also assessing emissions, transport impacts and how these projects fit within a circular economy. The committee travelled to Sunbury, where it heard from a number of community groups and environmental advocates opposed to incineration-based waste-to-energy projects.
There is no social licence, not in Sunbury and not anywhere in Victoria, for a waste incinerator in a community.
Community members aired their unease at the public hearing.
There are so many concerns with waste incineration. The environmental impacts, the climate impacts, the public health impacts, but also just the impacts on the local community, like additional trucks going through, potential housing prices, council rates. All of those things come together to make this a bad idea.
Critics also argue that burning waste is dangerous to human health.
There is no way to regulate this industry into safety. It is inherently polluting and dangerous. And that's because much of the pollution happens outside of the facility. As the exit gases cool down, as the pollutants attach to the soot and the carbon particles, you can't regulate this industry into safety. Therefore, we need to choose safer, more effective, less polluting residual waste management technologies.
At a later hearing in Melbourne, an Environment Protection Agency representative said newer waste-to-energy plants had addressed the issue of pollutants forming outside the facility.
So we're actually now beginning to see some plants, let's say in Denmark, for example, where they're literally actually getting the dioxin and furan levels down below the detection limit. So the dioxin and furan issue, it absolutely has been an issue in the past. There's no doubt about that. But the modern technologies that have been brought on board are very much looking at how they can address that, not just in the context of your initial dioxin and furan formation, but also further down the track through that de novo synthesis process.
Opponents point to alternatives like better recycling, advanced sorting and waste reduction strategies.
We need to actually focus on a real circular economy, and a lot of that starts with actual real waste minimisation from the very source, not putting it on communities to have it burnt away in their backyards.
The project's proponents told a Melbourne hearing adding a waste-to-energy plant to the existing Sunbury waste precinct would provide the dual benefit of addressing Victoria's growing residual waste issue and complement it with energy production.
Our experience shows us that no matter how much time, how much effort, how much technology you can throw at waste, there is always going to be a residual fraction. And that residual fraction is forecast to be 9 million tonnes. 8 mcgs a year. For us, the solution to that residual problem, and I think it's fair to say this is an issue that's shared across industry, is that energy from waste is one of the solutions to that residual problem.
Others, including councils, industry and unions, say waste to energy may be necessary to deal with the residual waste that cannot be recycled. Some councils say alternative technologies were explored, but waste to energy was the only viable option at scale.
It became clear that of the 32 expressions of interest we received from worldwide bidders, the only viable options were based on waste-to-energy technology, and that this technology offered a better alternative than continuing to rely on landfill.
In regions like the Latrobe Valley, where the Maryvale waste-to-energy facility is under development, the debate is also about jobs and economic transition.
We have in the Latrobe Valley a rather large power industry, coal-fired power, and that is now facing closure. The Yallourn power station and mine will be closed in mid-2028, which is a tick over 2 years from now, and we expect at that time that there will be around 2,000 jobs attached to the power station and mine at Yallourn that will need to be replaced in the Latrobe Valley.
You can learn more about the inquiry at the committee's website. The final report will be tabled by August this year.